mean, in terms of like congregate harm, I think of things like sports gambling, everything from DraftKings to Polymarket is like the kind of explosion in gambling addiction we've seen with the allowing app-based sports betting to become legal, to me has like a much higher degree of like cumulative harm socially than.
So that's where I sit with this. I think that you bring it up correctly, right? So the argument is, of course, like it's really not about loot boxes. It's really about this unregulated financial market inside of a video game, right? And so to put a number on it, it's estimated at $4.3 billion of unregulated, speculative assets being traded. And so, what ends up happening, of course, is that it requires no financial licensing, it verifies no ages, Valve gets a cut from every transaction. So I can see how governments go like, hey, what's happening here? And in fact, it's probably, it's, I guess, to protect the children, but they've been also increasingly forthcoming with like licenses around sports betting and iGaming, like where people basically have an internet connection to some kind of roulette table in another geography or zip code. And I think so. There is a myriad of ways in which you see chance-based play.
I mean, you saw the Polymarket stuff that happened this weekend, right? Where someone put up allowed people to gamble on whether a country will drop a nuke in 2026, right? And then Polymarket had to pull it. But I mean, there's like what happens on Polymarket is like incredibly dark. It's absolute Black Mirror shit, Welcome to Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious. I'm Lane Nooney.
And I'm Joost van Dreunen.
And we're here digging deep on why games matter in today's economy. On the docket today, Friday, March 6th, the state of New York takes on Valve in a lawsuit about loot box gambling, and World of Warcraft and Zillow create a collab so cringe you'll need a sabbatical from Azeroth. Plus our GDC hot tips, all that and more with your two very busy co-hosts. But first, we've got some catching up to do. Do you have time for catching up? I feel like I don't.
I have so much time to catch up.
That's not true.
All right. Isn't this a catch up already? It's like, so why don't you have time to catch up, Lane?
I'm just like under this class is busting my ass,
Aren't you
it's like every
tenured pro?
No, what are you talking about? This class is like it's 24 lectures, and do you know how long it takes in the span of a human life to make 24 lectures perfect over years?
Like, I mean, it's not actually doable within the course of a single life.
It's not doable in the site. So I just pick I'm like 3 lectures I'll improve, and even that can take like a week or more of like full attention. So I'm just then there's a test like every 6 weeks. There's a lot going on. I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed.
I'm sorry to hear that you're overwhelmed, particularly during a trying time right before lots of travel. I know that you are on the road, so what are
you looking at on your computer? I can tell you're not.
I'm raising a question so that you'll talk for a bit, so that I can look up skins gambling, skins trading.
Oh yeah. So are either of us prepped for today's conversation? It's fine. It's going to be a little loose unboxing, right? Remember how we set our intention at the beginning of the semester? Just let's do less.
That's not a way to open a podcast. No, we gotta excite and exhilarate the audience. Hold on, where is my? Sorry, I just came off this thing.
That's what the turtle's for.
There we go.
Yeah.
I found my article. So okay, so let's do 2 minutes of like checking in.
Yeah.
Hey, Lane, how is this class treating you?
I already answered that question. I'm not doing that again for the audience. See, we're really.
They want the real stuff. The unfiltered first take. Okay.
Yeah, what else is even I don't even know
Oh,
what
I
else
can
is.
tell you. So I did a field exercise with my students for the first time this semester. So
What
riffing
you mean,
off.
like you took them off campus?
No, no, no. It was you inspired me with the exit tickets. I really like the short burst personal notes. Like what did I, it's sort of like a good feedback. Like what did I miss? What was it that I didn't explain properly? But also like where does their mind go when I say these words? Kind of. And so it's very helpful. Like and they will give you this visceral response. Like I think GameStop is blah blah blah, and they have very strong opinions about stuff. It's very good. So inspired by that, I decided to do a field exercise, which really amounts to like spend 3 hours playing whatever game of your choice, and then write sort of like a two-page report on like just give me sort of a taxonomy of like who made it, what's the monetization model, like what's the nature of the game, blah blah blah, to kind of see what they would choose first and foremost, and also like what their level of exposure to all of this stuff is.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. So they just came in. It's like all these papers. So it's a big stack, but it's more work for me, but it's a lot of fun. So you keep like making me do more work when I shouldn't or don't have to. So thanks for
So,
that, I guess.
are there any preliminary observations from this stack?
Yeah, the immediate observation is that my instructions were unclear. They're like, well, it's more than two
Ah, the
pages.
fine art of teaching, right?
The
Like,
fine art of delegating a basic exam. So that one was pretty good. And then it also stress tests the logistics because then it's like, it helps me sort of like identify who's going to have a hard time submitting midterms and finals, which is a big to do always. Like that's the only way that people tend to fail their classes with me. It's just logistical, not anything else. And so those are the two takeaways immediately. I haven't gone through all the content. That's what I'm doing after this. So then
and so what is it? So you're asking them to play a game, and then the report is
the report is, I can give it to you in actual words, but so the report is basically an assessment of like, okay, you've now played through this game, and then you're going to tell me, let's see, what are you going to tell me? What's like do like an analysis, right? So 500 words or so. Give me a game overview. What's the business model? What do you think is the monetization mechanic here? What are the retention strategies? And sort of a critical assessment, like evaluate it. What's working well?
500 words. That's nothing.
I know it's just like a field exercise. It's like a so it's a rudimentary one. It's a bit like
So how do you grade
like
something like that?
I was gonna go with pass fail because it's my first run.
So
Because
what does
I
that
mean,
mean in the at the level of the grade book? We're
at
just
the
gonna
level of
get into
grade.
the nuts and bolts here,
No,
right?
no, let's
Like,
get into nuts and bolts. Here's some more nuts for you. It's 10% of the total grade, and
so let's say
so
10 point, and so either it's like you get this 10% or you don't.
yeah, which this
It's a
is hard to
hundred
fail.
or it's a
You
zero.
either did it or you did not do it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
so it's like the same thing with attendance, sort of like, yeah, you were or were not in the room. That's, and unless there's some explanation for why you were not, and then you get, but so those are all pass fail things. I don't want to sit here and
Yeah,
nickel and dime people for 10% of their
yeah,
grade. I
yeah,
think
yeah. One
that's not my
thing, one
time.
thing that I did, I have a grading scheme that just welcome to Lane and Yost's pedagogy hour. I have
The
a,
hour of
it's fine.
power.
People love to listen to it. I have a grading scheme that I use in my media history class, this big 240 person class.
Hmm.
For these there's these 10 homework exercises across the whole semester, and my TAs grade them. So I really needed to make them, and each TA has 40 students, right? And that's a lot. And so it's like I needed to make them really easy to grade. And so I came up with there's basically three grades you could get on any one of these homeworks, which is
Hmm.
there's the pass fail, there's the you didn't do it and you get a zero. You did it and you did it correctly and you get a one or you get full credit. Or you did it but you did it wrong and you get a 75.
Really?
Yeah. And that's just
That's a,
flat. It's like there's three grades you can get. Here they are. And so did it wrong is like you didn't meet the word count. You didn't address the criteria of the assignment. Like you handed something in,
uh,
but it isn't really what I asked for. And I don't think you should get full credit for handing in something that isn't doesn't meet all the criteria of the assignment,
that's
you know?
interesting. What's the total value out of the final grade? What's the weight of
Um,
this extra?
for those, so the way that I do this is there's 10 homeworks, and all together they are 25% of the grade. So each
10
one is kind of
homeworks.
like 3% roughly of the grade, right? But for I might recommend something, so it's a way of reducing the load of grading, right? While still having, cuz you like, do you want to give full credit when you get someone turns something in but it's garbage? Right? Like, I do think that's like a different classification than someone who like turned something in and like made sure it met all the criteria and stuff like that.
I
I'm
find
just
you.
gonna share more of my wisdom
No,
with you
listen. Like
about.
the thing is like you don't come across as this like numeric organizational wizard.
I
But
don't.
here, no, no. Like, look, look, you carry a certain flamboyance, and then every time we talk about these sort of like operational things, it's like, yeah, I know you got streamers. Was that for Romchip?
This was for, yeah. I put these up for folks who are listening to this audio wise, not on the video. I've got these like yeah, these like long, those like plastic door streamers, in like rainbow colors. I put them up to be a backdrop while we were doing the 12-hour round chip fundraiser, which, by the way, raised
Mm.
$10,001. So it's the most money. First
Woohoo!
time we ever hit five figures. Most money we ever raised.
Amazing.
And I had these up, and I was like, what if they just stayed up? Like, I can still get to my books. I can just
Oh, the
like,
mystique.
yeah, I
It
just
has it,
open the
it has like a
just open the curtain.
that's
And
fantastic.
it's I
It
spend
also
so much
protects your
time
books.
on Zoom and in like a podcasting environment that I was like, maybe they're just gonna stay up.
I think that this is a natural evolution of like the early stages of COVID when everybody was sort of like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
designing their backdrop and how smart they were.
yeah,
And you're just like,
yeah.
no, no, no. This is a festive
This,
occasion to speak to
this
me.
is just gonna be
I like
permanent.
that.
But
I like that.
okay, so I have a certain flamboyance that makes you think I'm not
It's
a
it's
heavy
it puts
spreadsheet
you in the
user.
right. Well, I mean, it's not just your talking; it's also your writing. Like you're very like you have a breadth of it. Right? You are a wordsmith of sorts. I see how careful you weigh every word, and so that suggests, forget which side of the brain it is, the other side. But then there's also the numeric one, which is a little bit more my territory, where you'd be surprised to know it's like I am not at all as organized as you are. So this is why I always borrow so much of your thinking about this because I do find it very interesting to like, yeah, how do you value people's work? And keep that organized.
Yeah,
So
and
this is
still
very
keep it
helpful.
efficient for yourself. Like,
You
because
always
you
ask
don't.
this
Yeah, you're
pesky
right. You
question.
don't want to be writing a billion. I'm a huge fan of a rubric. Keaton, our
Hmm.
producer, can attest to this, right? I love like a structured grading experience.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I guess I am truly an exceptional individual, Yost. If that's what you were
it's
trying to
that's
communicate,
yeah, that's where
it's
I was
true.
getting to.
I have strong aesthetic and artistic and social skills, and also I'm a great project manager and love to be organized. It's true.
Listen, I can't wait to host you next week at my mixer to celebrate
I know it's gonna be
you.
fun. Um, I have a very fancy like the dinner that Nuzu is hosting just feels like it keeps getting fancier and fancier every time I get an email about it, and I'm like, fuck, I got to bring an outfit just to go to this thing. Like, this is
Mm.
very
What are you gonna
annoying.
wear?
I
What do you
don't
wear to
know. I
this?
was like, oh god, I have to go through my like yeah, that's a great question. Like these like there's definitely going to be millionaires at this thing, like probably. Like I was just like,
Oh, that's when you
oh
dress up
yeah,
when there's a
hosted by,
millionaire.
here we go, here we go. Hosted by Nuzu and Deconstructor of Fun with Morgan Stanley and Tebex as main partners. Supported by Heroic Labs, the Supper Club brings together a carefully select group of senior industry leaders for an evening away from the conference floor. Like, guys, do you know how psyched I am to have a free drink? Like, do you understand how little money I make compared to anyone else in this space? Yeah, so
Get
I
it.
gotta figure out, you know, gotta
Get the
figure out what
top
I'm gonna
shelf
do.
stuff though. Like, don't be shy. Just like, no, what's gonna be the top one? Like, walk around like a banker. Just no, 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 don't
I
give me
maybe
this.
it's like this is one of those moments where I get self conscious that I only own like black jeans from the Gap. you know?
Mm.
Like,
Shit.
yeah,
But you could, I mean, but you could pull it off. You're a professor, and like you have a cool factor that they lack. Yeah,
it's
Morgan
true.
Stanley is many things, but cool it is not, right? And so, so you could totally roll in there doing whatever and be like, oh, that's you must be a creative. She's like, yep, yep.
Yeah.
I'm actually creating
Bring
value
me
that
my
you're trying
most
to capture.
colorful glasses. No. Um
Bring your
yeah,
streamers. I don't know.
that's we'll figure out something, but
That's exciting,
it's a
man.
little stressful. Maybe I'll pilot the outfit at the Yoast mixer. But Yoast, we should really get on to the news of the day, right?
Yeah, let's talk about some news because this is all very cool. But we'll talk about GDC in a moment. But it seems like there's a lot happening this week. The big
Kind of.
news for me is very simple. Valve is dead center here. New York Attorney General Letitia James filed a suit against Valve late February, and it alleges that the company is illegally promoting gambling through its Counter-Strike 2, CS2, Team Fortress 2, and Dota 2, particularly because those games are popular with children and teenagers. And so it's a pretty aggressive, you know, claim. So they want a permanent ban on loot box mechanics and a fine equal to 3 times the value of Valve's gains from the illegal practices, according to GeekWire. So good morning, everyone. Here is Valve, the
That
untouchable company, and suddenly now finding itself dead center in the crosshairs of an attorney general, no doubt, no less.
I mean, I would love to know like state of New York. Yeah, I would love to know the like how long this has been in the making, whose agenda this furthers, what Letitia James knows about a loot box. I just have a lot of questions, right? Um,
Mm,
like, obviously harm to minors through gambling. This is not the first state. I mean, I remember like Hawaii tried to do some stuff like this. Like the loot box thing does feel a bit outdated,
mhm.
at this stage, right? Like, or maybe not the terrain where the most harm from, we've seen more recently, like states do lawsuits against Roblox for child predation, right? I feel like it's been a long time since I've heard of like a loot box lawsuit. It did feel like all of that stuff got kind of just like absorbed into the ecosystem. Everyone was just like, all right, this is how we live now. And I would, the FTC, find Hoyoverse over loot box disclosures. Yost, is this? I mean, those are just some of my initial thoughts, right? Like,
Mhm.
how is this? Is this something anyone is actually talking about or concerned about? Um, how much smoke you think this got?
That's a good one. So and I'll run it up. So I had a few phone calls about 6 months ago with what I suspect now was part of their initial sort of, you know, surveying of like who knows anything and what information is out there, and like they're trying to size these things. Of course, like it always helps in these cases to put a number on the board. And so,
Mm-hmm.
loot boxes and skins gambling, which is really what this is about, of course, is like, okay, what does that look like in dollar terms? And so I was approached a couple months ago. It's not really my cup of tea, and as a principal,
Letitia
I don't.
James tracked you down in a dark alley.
Well, yeah, Letitia, no, not again. There's a nasty habit of finding. No, it's whatever. People look up your name and they find you. But so I, as in principle, don't do expert testimony. So I'll say like, yeah, you should read this, or you should talk to that person. But no thanks, because it's not something I would have spent my time on.
Ooh, I would
And
maybe
it's
do expert testimony.
well, listen, for anybody interested in having Lane argue your case, call this number
That's
one
not
eight
that's not
hundred.
what testimony is, right? It's just statements of the facts. But anyway,
It's
um,
actually no, it's a full-time job if you really do it well. But
yeah.
so regardless, it's very murky. And so my problem here is that the definitional model is of course always the problem. It's something that we discussed when Activision Blizzard was acquired, like what's the market definition, and you have all these sort of, well, this kind of falls here, and is that still part of the other thing? And so here you would argue loot boxes, sure, that's a as a monetization mechanic. Then it's also, of course, centered around the children, as always. It's always minors, and sort of the lead up towards, either exploiting them financially and or prepping them for full on gambling addiction. That's sort of the narrative that emerges from this, and I'm behind all of that. Like, you should err on the side of
Yeah.
caution. Yes, absolutely. Um, but it's also, like, it's become so complicated so quickly that it's, not to say that we shouldn't do anything about it. It's just a matter of, like, okay, um, are we spinning our wheels here? Because Valve could very easily say, like, okay, and be done with it, right? And so it's a relatively easy fix. I think, you're right that the loot box phenomenon has sort of been normalized or sort of lost its sting a little bit over time. There's a again, it's like there's still, of course, like always, the drop distribution or the drop ratios of specific items can be manipulated, which has always been the case. That's no different with collectible card games. So I fail to see the difference there so much, but it's you know, I'm always
Well,
so
it's like
skeptical of the
it's the
fact that it's
speed,
video games first.
it's the speed, it's the ease of access, it's the direct marketing, it's the direct access to children, it's the like it's the way the kind of digitization of it all kind of
Yeah,
amplifies effect, right? Um,
yeah, okay, but so, like, as a Dutch boy growing up, it's like I had stacks of those Panini soccer cards and stickers.
okay, Grandpa, all right,
Yeah,
like
listen, no, that's actually a very, very popular business still, but you non-Europeans don't know any of this because you lack the culture. It's it's the it's the but like, making things easily available so that kids can collect them has been
yeah.
that
But you
predates
didn't
digitalization.
what you didn't have access to then was a high level trading market that put you into connection
No.
with economic operators all over the world, right? Like
Yes.
that's where the scale of this really becomes a problem, and it's where, like, if you don't have trading infrastructure, loot boxes can be deceptive, but they don't produce this kind of knock-on gambling effect, right? It's like
Hmm,
the
hmm,
loot box, if
hmm.
the loot is just internal to the game, the issue with what Valve is doing is there's this kind of second order economy or marketplace that like rides on top of all of this, right? So it's not
Hmm.
just the selling of it is the selling of the keys that is part of the issue, but the reason you want the keys is because you're trying to these are treated as investment assets basically, right?
Yes.
And
Annuities,
that's
right?
that is where this kind of really all just is a proxy for a kind of advanced, it doesn't feel like gambling because it's not chance based in the same way, and there's so many levels of abstraction going
Hmm,
on
hmm.
in terms of accessing the box. I don't disagree with the premise, but although I do think, based on my initial research, this might be the first state level case ever waged,
Hmm,
ever
hmm.
presented against loot boxes. So there have been, I think Connecticut has had a private lawsuit. In Florida, there was a class action. This is full disclosure. I'm having ChatGPT help me out with some of this. So if any of this is incorrect, just correct me.
Stop
Um,
hallucinating.
but like as was my memory suggested, those are things that are from the mid 2010s, right? Like
Hmm,
there's a this the loot box obsession, feels like it was very much like a mid-teens phenomenon, and has
hmm.
just been allowed to kind of, yeah, gotten absorbed into the ecosystem, as I said before. I mean, in terms of like congregate harm, I think of things like sports gambling, like all of this, everything from DraftKings to Polymarket is like the kind of explosion in gambling addiction we've seen with the with the allowing app based sports betting to become legal, to me has like a much higher degree of like cumulative harm socially than.
So that's where I sit with this. I think that you bring it up correctly, right? So from this lawsuit, this class action lawsuit, all the way to what you just mentioned, I think that is a sort of a trajectory, not so much or sort of like the different steps there, right? So the argument is, of course, like, it's really not about loot boxes. It's really about this unregulated financial market inside of a video game, right? That's the and so to put a number on it, it's estimated at $4.3 billion of unregulated, speculative assets being traded. And so, what ends up happening, of course, is that it requires no financial licensing, it verifies no ages, Valve gets a cut from every transaction. So I can see how governments go like, hey, what's happening here? In fact, it's probably, you know, it's I guess to protect the children, but you know, uh, they've been also increasingly forthcoming with like licenses around sports betting and iGaming, like where people basically have an internet connection to some kind of roulette table in another
Yeah,
geography or zip code,
yeah, yeah.
and I think so. There is a myriad of ways in which you see chance-based play
I mean,
that
you
has.
saw the poly market stuff that happened this weekend, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
someone put up a allowed people to gamble on whether a country will drop a nuke in 2026, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
Polymarket had to pull it. But I mean, there's like what happens on Polymarket is like incredibly dark. It's absolute um, Black Mirror shit, you know?
Yeah, it's wild, right? And so it's poly market, it's Kalshi, and so prediction markets, as I've
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
know them,
yeah,
it's like these are emergent forms of play that are, I would
yeah.
immediately trace this back to meme stocks during the pandemic, where we all sit around
Mm-hmm.
trying to like put money on GameStop, trying to life hack the stock market and see if we can make a buck. And some winners that will work out, and everybody's going to be pursuing that high the rest of the time. So I do think that there is, that's like all these things will be legalized, all these things will be normalized. I have no doubts because it makes money, and what's going to happen is that the economy is currently fine, kind of, but it's going to not be fine soon enough, and then governments will be looking for income, and gambling historically has always been this source of income during
Ugh.
downturns. So all of this is just precursor of like, yeah, we're going to give away these licenses so that we can make a buck. On the other end, we'll tax you some other way, right? If you can't tax your income, we'll tax you in your play behavior. So there's a cynical version of this. I also think that it permeates like part of the reason governments don't like it is because it undermines their authority. Unless they're
Mm.
involved, it's illegal, right? I mean, it's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's and so that's a natural sort of structure here. And I think that casino operators and gambling companies that they have been struggling with it. So here comes Valve, the relentless innovator from the games industry. And again, it's like, Apple would never do this or touch this, even though they have sports betting apps like DraftKings and stuff like that. But this is really the most raw form of it. And so it all goes back to my thesis that like gaming or play is sort of like an early barometer of what's next.
Hmm.
And like, well, here you go. Like, it's like all that skins trading. That's going to be. This was the dream that Web3 and crypto bros had in mind. It's
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah.
it exists. It's just not at scale yet. And so
Yeah,
that's coming the next thing.
which is just like economic operations devoid of any social value. You know, it's just
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
at which point we're not talking about play anymore. I will end. We'll end this conversation and transition, but with one fun fact, because
Ooh,
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now.
hit me.
In April 2019, the Quinault Indian Nation in Washington State filed a lawsuit against Valve alleging that despite their steps to prevent gambling using skins, it continued to run global offensive with the intent to profit from skin gambling, making them run afoul as an unlicensed gambling business, and because of its size, gains a significant advantage over the licensed gambling at the Quinault casinos,
Mm.
which is just like is wild, right? Um, to take a I mean, there's no information here about what happened with that lawsuit. I would be fascinated to go dig that up. That's the other thing. It's like I want to check this story every time there's an update. I feel like we get headline coverage when the lawsuit gets filed, but like what is its actual how do we follow its progression through the legal system? That's something I want to know. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can show you how to access it, but it's the like Valve offers many things, and one of those things is apparently job security for its legal team because I mean they are. It's just they're getting sued so much lately, and it's not just about gambling, it's about violence in games and unfair practices and blah blah. So it's all like, I'm very curious because it's you see this. I mean, we talked about the lawsuit with Epic, like from all sides, a company like Valve is being um, sought out by all these institutions. It's like, yeah, that's not fair. And to some degree, it's like, yeah, maybe it isn't in some cases, or maybe it's questionable in some cases. But overall, it's like, well, this is a completely free market. Like the mindset of like a Gabe Newell is much more libertarian than you perhaps most people would be comfortable with. But this is capitalism, unfiltered. So yeah,
Yeah.
like there's going to be lots of this. This is how it innovates. This is how it's going to improve its business model. I know.
Let's take the word innovation out of here. Apparently, so apparently
Ah,
that Quinault Indian Nation lawsuit failed because some of it was dismissed because it relied on the claim that the plaintiffs were deceived by Valve despite never having used Steam or played any of its games. So, like, there's
okay.
often this problem of like, will a court recognize this activity as gambling,
Hmm.
right? Which is your first uphill climb, right?
Hmm.
That's what James is. I mean, she's no dummy. She knows what she's doing, but
Listen,
that's a
you
big,
don't.
that it would establish huge precedent. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, it's a case to watch.
All right, other things I don't want to watch include World of Warcraft and Zillow have a collaboration. You brought this to my attention. How did you find
Yes.
out about this? And
Listen,
gentle reader, if you have not already, you just need to Google WoW and Zillow and feast your eyes on Zillow for WoW.
I I am just so excited about this. The so
I'm so
Zillow is
angry.
a real estate platform on the interwebs where you can basically, spend your Sunday afternoon looking up places you can't afford in neighborhoods you don't want to move to, whatever. But it's sort of like it speaks to every person's like deep-seated intrusive behaviors, like, ooh, how much for this house? Oh, I wonder, if I could afford this. And so they now have done a collaboration with World of Warcraft where they showcase and value all of these like in-game properties. And of course, what it is a brilliant marketing ploy where they say, "Look, we're a real estate company, digital play spaces."
Let's take brilliant out of the description. It is a marketing
No,
ploy.
it's brilliant based on the fact that it's got legs. Because the first response, which is yours, is sort of like, "Who cares? This is terrible." But then, of course, people go like, "That's outrageous," and now it just goes viral and everybody talks about it. So therefore, brilliant. I'm not saying it, go create an account at Zillow and buy a house, but I'm
I mean,
saying.
I actually think kind of the opposite. I think that I think this damages both brands. I think this is fucking stupid. I think World of Warcraft tying its credibility to a company that has been known to increase the affordability crisis through Zestimate estimates that misrepresent housing values, and then also like creating price distortion in a marketplace. Like Zillow is a plague,
Mhm.
and this idea of treating it like some friendly fun place that just shows you how like it's a like all of this stuff is really well documented and has been reported on,
Mhm.
and it's a real actual like disappointment, I think, for them to like do this brand collab that literally, like, what did anyone at Blizzard get out of this, right?
Mhm.
Did it really
Mhm.
drive engagement? Did it, I mean, basically you're asking you put your customer base on the block and to trade their private data for a doormat for their home in Azeroth. And then
Listen,
you made a goof website. Like that isn't even
well,
well done.
it's part of player housing going live in the game, right? That's the so it's sort of like to amplify that signal, and player housing in these online role-playing games, particularly WoW, has been a long-standing request from its audience. And so they basically took that moment to then collaborate with Zillow to do this thing. And it's you can't buy anything, obviously. It's more like
Yeah.
finding, so they tap into that social layer of like showing off your house, right? And so rather than developing some kind of way where you could show off like how cool your house is, because people build these custom spaces, only largely just show them off to everybody else. And so I think what happened here is like there's like, well, we could build that, or we could sort of make it seem like the real world with Zillow. And Zillow probably said, yeah, let's do that. That makes sense. They've created some in-game agents, Zillow
Ugh.
representatives. Yeah, it's all your favorite stuff in one new content update.
Oh, in one. Oh God. Oh. Oh.
It's so good.
It's
So,
just like, it's just like that meme that's like, healthcare, please. You know, like, oh, I can't afford a house in my, like, it's a little too like Ready Player One, right? Like, I can't afford a home in my
mm,
depressive, living in the fucking imperial core. But man, when I go
yes.
into to the metaverse, it's like, kill me
Yeah.
now. Um,
Yeah, I would
I
expect
mean,
you to
I'll
take
say
that.
I looked
Take.
at the comments on the blog site where WoW posted this, and like, it's not flattering. Like, people don't think this is cute.
Oh,
Um,
look,
you
I
know,
doubt that they do. I doubt that they do,
it's
I
kind
don't
of
think
like,
it's
it's like, who in your marketing team who never played WoW came up with this? You know,
Mhm.
sorry
you know,
to be. Hope I don't meet
it's
that person at GDC. But
it's
I
like
hate
some
this.
heartbroken marketing exec. Look, I think it's about visibility for everybody. It's the sort of the baseline version is both World of Warcraft and Zillow. They are, their business depends on content marketing and acquiring new users and finding
I
new
can't.
ways to do that.
I can't. It's like, I can't let it go, Yost. It's like, there's such a more interesting way they could have, like, they could have done a send up on Zillow. They could have done a parody. They could have, right? There's like, just more. They could have done something that was like self-aware rather than lowest common
Hmm.
denominator. And I think that's the kind of disappointment, right? Like, there's so much creativity that goes into this game and so much player loyalty, and to sort of like squander it with this, kind of opportunistic, low hanging fruit, creatively lazy, uh, just
We'll make a
collab.
marketing executive out of you yet. Like it sounds like 2027 might see an
I
agency.
got I got dark reads, man. It's just like, there's a way that this could have been funny and provocative, and instead it's just like, oh, capitalism gonna capitalism. Like, what a dump, you know? Sorry. That's the
I
last thing I have to say about it.
No, it's like listen, if I would not be surprised if we see the birth of a new marketing agency in 2026 called No Lane, No Gain, and it's going to be for all your interactive digital spaces and brand marketing
I
strategies and
mean, maybe
campaigns.
once again I'll get lucky and they'll contact me for a
Listen,
consultancy
you
on
might get
brand.
invited to another one of those dinners where you have to wear your fancy clothes. There might be millionaires there too. Who knows?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so good.
I just need one of them to take me under their wing. Ugh. All right, Yost. I think that's, yeah, kind of a weird, slow news week, because, like, everyone's still talking about Xbox, but like, nothing's really changed
Reeling,
at
reeling
Xbox.
from last week. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, reeling, reeling. But there's no new news out of that space.
No.
And so, yeah, we decided to go with some more culture stories this week a bit. But
Absolutely.
also, we had talked about doing our pro tips for GDC. I can't fathom somebody in the year of our Lord 2026 being like, "This is my first time at GDC." What a wild choice! But
Don't knock it. There's so many people go for the first time.
I know, I know,
So,
I know. So this will be
well,
an
so
exciting affair for many folks. But Yost, what are the things that you always forget to do, or like that you wish you had done, or the hard lessons that you have
right,
learned over the years from being a
the
GDC mag?
grizzled
Yeah.
veteran perspective. So, so GDC is a circus, and the so the first and foremost thing that I do for GDC in particular, that's where sort of the idea originates, but I do that for every kind of fly out to conferences, is like, what's my tent pole event? Like, what's the one major reason for me to spend all this time out there? And without that, you can't make the business case because it is an investment, as you know. And so having a clear set of one clear reason for it, that was kind of harder. Like in the beginning, I kind of would go, it's like, oh, let's see who's there, and it's like you see no one that way. But if you have one like major event or like a big important meeting that you could sort of center everything else around, then the whole thing kind of, it's sort of the rug that pulls the room together kind of thing. So you got to have a reason to be there in the first place, like one clear reason. For me personally, nowadays, that's the happy hour, the mixer on Monday.
Your
You know,
mixer.
two, 300 people in the room for a couple hours. Yeah, I can't set meetings with all of them, and so this way I get to see all of them. But it's quick, convenient. If there's something to talk about, we'll do it after the show, kind of thing. And so it sort of cleans up a whole bunch of loose ends that otherwise would go unanswered, untied. So that's the main thing. Like you got to have, but so then in order to get to that point, the week before GDC is probably the worst one because now you're in the throes of trying to get everybody on a calendar, and they're all doing the same thing. So it's a lot of appointments in real
Oh,
time.
it's a lot of meeting Tetris. Yeah, you have a very
It's
different
fantastic.
GDC experience than I do.
I have endless meetings. I don't know what yours looks like, but the third piece of this. So basically, so be aware, be ready to like schedule, reschedule, and reschedule again the same people a couple of times. And then of course there's your cancellations, but leave time open. That's the third piece of it. It's
Mm.
like, give yourself a morning where you like get like one decent breakfast or like one workout in because by day three you'll be dragging because you've been shaking too many hands and looking people in the eyes. Like it's incredibly exhausting. At least I'm still introverted enough to like I run the tank down. So you gotta find like a moment to like recover. And so those is like it's like 10 pole, it's the week before in scheduling, and then like one moment of solace somewhere along the line. Otherwise you lose your absolute mind. Those are my three pro tips that are hard earned. I have a bunch of others, but those are the main ones.
Wait,
I'm
what are the
curious, like
three?
what 10 pole event, the flexibility in the week before in terms of scheduling, and then finally the moment of solace, like
The moment of solace. Okay.
one good meal, one good workout,
Okay.
whatever.
Interestingly, go to the gym is also on my list.
Mm,
One of the things I find very frustrating about like the San Francisco hotel market in general is that the the lower mid range is a real wasteland, and a
hmm
lot of those hotels, which are kind of the Ode hotels, I can't do much above a mid range hotel, and the presence of a gym at those hotels is very hit and miss. But I have been able to. You know, there's like two 24-hour fitnesses within decent walking distance. You can get a week pass or a day pass, and they're
hmm
filthy, but they are well stocked with all the stuff. And
Okay.
get up early in the morning or cut out in the middle of your day. Do something. I have actually. You spend so much time sitting or standing on concrete at Moscone.
hmm
It's
hmm
either you're sitting in a fucking chair, also trying to use a laptop in your like propped up on your knees, or you're walking across you're walking around outside, or you're walking on the world's thinnest carpet in the show, like just like the courtesy idea of a carpet in like the expo halls, right? Um, and so your hips hurt, your feet hurt, like it just I've blown out my back being at GDC for 5 days.
Well, that's not
Um,
fun.
like because you do major steps, but you're doing them in this environment that's like very anti-human. Um, so I'd say like
hmm
go to prioritize taking care of your body as much you can because everything about GDC is totally against that, right? Like
mm
um, you did bring it up, but like the food situation is very demeaning. Um,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I didn't want to say
like
that's.
$22 for like the worst sandwich you've ever eaten. I don't think I've ever gotten food from a GDC vendor and was like, wow, that was good. It's bad. It's really bad, and it's insanely overpriced.
Yeah,
Pack a protein bar. I just went to Wegmans and like grabbed a bag of beef sticks and like David bars, and I was like, these are
mhm.
coming with me every day. Um,
Hmm.
because even like somehow GDC can fuck up a banana and an apple, you know,
Hmm.
or Moscone can, right? But that's kind
Yeah,
of the grossness of the whole vendor relationship, right? Like all this stuff is just kickback of the lowest common denominator, right? The Moscone food situation is atrocious.
oh, it's an open air airport, right? It's like a
I mean, it's worse than an airport, Yost. I think I've gotten better food at an airport.
well,
Um,
but the economic circumstances the same. Like
yeah,
you can't
yeah.
really go anywhere, and so everything is overpriced and lower quality.
I also think you pay more than at an airport. Like it's more like being in an amusement park. It's like you're trapped in Disney World. And so
Yeah,
they're like, "Would
like
you
the
like this
shitty ones.
$40 cinnamon bun?" Like, I
Mm.
don't know where else to go or what to do.
Well,
Um,
only if every homeless person on this block has licked it. It's like,
Unhoused,
it's
Yost, unhoused.
okay. Okay. Well,
My other recommendation, pack your snacks, go to a gym, bring a mask. You inevitably will find yourself in in some kind of circumstance where you are in very close quarters with a bunch of people you don't fucking know, and
mm-hmm.
somebody be sneezing or coughing, and people have just lost any sense that like if you are sick in public, you should still be wearing a mask. Pack a mask. Just keep it in your pocket, keep it in your bag. You'll thank me later. And
Mm-hmm.
my other hot tip is to go to at least one panel not in your domain. So, right, we stack ourselves with stuff that is, all about kind of whether it's programming or education or
Mm-hmm.
sound design or whatever. And it's like I think the where you learn the most about the industry is where you show up in spaces trying to understand how other people make sense of this world. Um,
Yes,
and
that's
I
a good
think
one.
that's where like the depth and the learning and the interest lie.
So I like that one. So okay, so given the sort of emotional, physical, financial cost of this, what's your favorite thing? What do you look for to the most this year?
I look forward to
Not the
seeing.
bananas.
I look forward to seeing all the people that GDC kind of is not designed to cater to, but like are able to kind of hang out at its fringes.
Okay.
I get to see game preservation and game history people that I otherwise would not maybe interact with, right?
Mm.
Because the Video Game History Foundation is right out in the East Bay, and
Mm-hmm.
so folks like Phil Salvador and Frank Cafaldi are running around. There's a kind of smattering of weird academics who are like in the shit, but obviously that is not kind of the centerpiece of what GDC is doing. There's games journalists there, like combing for their stories and their leads and their angles. Those are the people that I'm usually psyched to hang out with because my day-to-day work otherwise doesn't bring me into contact with them always, or they're folks who just like live far away, and this is weirdly a venue where I get to see them. I don't play a lot of games when I'm there. It's not really the way. I know it's supposed to be a festival of gaming. I'm very interested to see what that means, but I don't. For me, I get very stressed out being expected to sit down at a computer or or a gaming console and like play a game while the person who made it watches. That is
Oh
like
no,
the last thing I ever want to do. Right?
deeply uncomfortable.
It just gives me sweats. Or like while other people watch me play a game. Like that's not how I want to experience games.
No, it's like, would you
Yeah,
like to
so I
try out
would
this toilet that we make and like right here on the floor? He's like, no, no, I do not wish to use
like I
this.
love people who love doing that, and I know that feedback and experience is so important for the people who make games, but it is not for me, my friend. I also love the showroom floor. That is always like kind of one of my, historically that's one of my
Mm.
favorite places to be because that's where all the weird, it's where the dingleberries of the industry are on full display. It's just like
The
I maybe
dingleberries
just
of the industry.
it's like it's like what weird niche service do you provide, sir? Oh,
This is exactly the flamboyance I was referring to earlier. You see this? You see how this throws you off then to discover that you count everything in life? You know, it's
and
amazing.
also that homework is a 0.75. Sorry.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and so I am. I when and I looked at the map of the showroom floor. It's basically cut in half. I'm like, Like, I love the low hanging fruit. I love the cheap seats of GDC. Like, for
Of
me,
course.
that's where, like, the people who have bought the little booth, who are trying to sell whatever their weird app or API or
Hmm.
whatever is, like the speed tree people, right? I want to hang out with them, like, or at least like walk past their little setup every year. And that, for me, is where I learn about industry trends, that about like what is actually practically going on in the industry that isn't like main stage content or someone fucking trying to sell me something. Like, I know that the people at the booths are trying to sell me something, but they're not going to wrap it up in a talk as if that's
Hmm.
not what they're doing, right?
No, I agree with you. It's like it's the weird part. Is I mean, there's two different segues here, but I guess the obvious one is like, so can it maintain that character? Like, clearly, it's not for the big shows. Like, very few companies, like Xbox has removed its presence. I know PlayStation does a lot of third-party meetings, so they rent out this whole floor. But those are third-party meetings, and so they're trying to meet everybody. Small, medium-sized companies really should be the target of this, which is the most interesting part. So that's, I think in some ways it's cost prohibitive, and it's always been kind of a struggle. A lot of people have been canceling because of, not feeling as welcome as they have in past years, even though that it's only been getting worse, I guess, in some ways. People are actively discouraging people from attending. That's a
Can
sad
you
thing.
be more explicit about what you mean by this?
So over the years, the cost of the event has been prohibitive for a lot of people. There used to be an Explo pass. So I never used to go to the talks because I didn't have time.
Hmm.
I mean, a couple of years, but it's just like it's either or. Either you do meetings or you go to the expo. It's very hard to navigate logistically to do both. And so I'd get the expo pass, where you just kind of like swing around, get a flavor of things, and then you could see some of the talks online later. They got rid of that, and so it's not as sort of the entry fee is a little higher. That's one. It's also the people from all over the world want to attend this. It's really far, so it's not just the ticket price; it's also the travel.
Well, it's really far, and it's an incredibly hostile um, border control environment.
Well, that's the third thing. Is like people are just, not just for this event, just in
Why the
general, sort of
fuck would you come to America right now, right?
yeah, it's not as
No
inviting,
reason.
and we could talk about that. I mean, it's not just GDC. It's also like, hey, we'll talk about this some other time. But like FIFA, like the World Cup's coming up, and like, people are like, thanks, it's $6,000 for like a ticket, and I might get turned away and lose all my money. Like it's just like a very
And also,
unforgiving.
JD Vance might be there.
Well, I would see that as a huge bonus. That is. I've
Well,
seen, if good Lord, no, it's like they're actively trying to scare you away. I totally get it. It's very discouraging. So for all those reasons, like and then look, if you are a creative from someplace that is the most popular, it's like, yeah, then you can set your clock to the fact that they're not going to let you in for some arbitrary reason, or like the risk factor is too great. So that's the one segue. The other segue is that, like, but we can still do stuff. So me too, Kandakar, of course, well.
yeah.
Um, Naomi, same thing. So the Tandon, Future Labs, and then the Game Center, they have a representation too. They're coming to the mixer. So on Monday, we'll have 2 or 4 projects on Showcase.
Oh,
We
cool.
invite, yeah, we said, like, well, we have room. We should get people in here to do some cool stuff. And so we connected with them. And so, there's still room for all of this. It's just, it becomes sort of more of a uniquely American affair as opposed to a global event. I think it's scattering, right? So Gamescom becomes more relevant. A bunch of events around Europe and Asia are taking more prominence. So you can see sort of the early onset of the US losing its
Yeah, the
gravitational pull.
decline of its authority here. You know, we've
Hmm.
only got a few more minutes, right? We know it gets we know we want to keep this pod under about an hour. Real quick, are we going to try and record a session next week while we're at GDC?
I'm game. Let's
Let's
find a
crack open.
hotel.
You want to do it?
Well, I'll
I think
be.
we'll figure out where we'll do it later, but I think the big question would be when.
Um, well, when are you there? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
I'm there Monday. I'm there Sunday night. I leave Friday afternoon.
Oh, you got the whole universe. Okay.
Yeah. But I have,
Um,
my Monday is I've got a talk, and then your thing, and then Wednesday I've got, my whole afternoon is busy. But like, I don't know. Wednesday, do you have breakfast meetings Wednesday morning?
yeah, Wednesday is pretty busy. Also, then I have to check out because I fly on the red eye. Tuesday is better for
Oh,
me. If you
Tuesday.
want to
Okay,
do like,
we could try. I mean, we'll have seen less stuff, but okay, you're getting out of there at GDC NYC Future of Games. Yeah, let's. I mean, my Tuesday's open, so you
I'll pick
name
a
the time.
spot.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do this.
just
This
not
is
dinner
not,
time because I think I got or sometime before 7.
of course not. Sometime before 7. So it probably looks like 2.
Okay.
All right, with Lane.
Keaton, does that work for you? And this is Pacific time, so it would be 5
Five.
p.m. your time. Okay, that's a yes from our
Keaton. That
production
is a
manager.
affirmative from the PM.
All right.
Yeah, we should
Yost, then.
at least like a snippet. If we get nothing, if we never get like 30 minutes of like banter, and then we can always talk around it. But I think that we feel like, hey, we're
Yeah,
live.
we could capture it on our phone, whatever, right? We'll Zoom. Yeah, we could sit in separate. We could do anything we want. Bring a little
The
mic.
world is your oyster.
Is your Nuzu drinks and dinner special? That's
Don't
right.
get wasted.
All right, Yost. I gotta fuck off to a faculty meeting. I presume you got other things to do besides chat with
Yeah.
me.
Do you want to close it out?
Yeah, let's close it out. I'll see you on the other coast. Folks going to GEC, hit us up. You want to say hi? And otherwise, good night and good game. Unboxing, Play and Profit for the Gaming Curious is an independent production by Joost van Dreunen and Lane Nooney. Our producer is Keaton Ireland. Our logo was designed by Moira Zhang. For more from Unboxing, subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.com/unboxingpodcast. Unboxing episodes can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever else you get your content.